Yeah. Okay. What? I scream, you scream. We all scream. For ice cream, why not? That's been said so many freaking times. I may as well say it again because of what I'm gonna do today. Hey everyone, Justin Dark here. JD, Twisted Dark Justin. It's already been over a month since I made the last video on this freaking channel, man. I cannot believe it, man. It's crazy. So, last time I made a video on this channel, it was, I think it was 4th of July, and I was drunk, and I was talking about my next projects. For my, my art projects on Twisted Art Productions, which is my second channel where I've been doing these beautiful, awesome motion comics that I wish I would have done years ago, but I waited for the right moment to do them. Because the moment I started doing them, the Twisted Metal TV show, something I had mentioned all the way back in 2020, back when I first started these videos actually, I was like, I heard they're making a TV show, and little did I know that 3 years later, I had to wait 3 years, but this summer, we got it. The Twisted Metal TV show. It was created by the people, or it was written by the people who wrote Deadpool, and Zombieland has an all-star cast of familiar actors from the Marvel movies. And it was being talked about for years, I think it got delayed due to COVID or some crap, but it came out. July 26, 2023 was the day that Twisted Metal finally came back for reals. I'm gonna re-say this. I know I've said this before, but I'll say it again. Twisted Metal is my favorite series. I've been a fan of the series ever since I was 4 years old. I was pretty much still in diapers, or I was just coming out of diapers, really, when I picked up that PlayStation controller and I played Twisted Metal 4, and I've played that game off and on for the last 20 years. And of course, since I was playing Twisted Metal 4, obviously later in my life, I would get the other ones, Twisted Metal 1's very dated. It's always been dated to me, but it's alright. Twisted Metal 2 is considered the best. It's not my opinion at least. Twisted Metal 3 is the worst. But I like it still. It's not the worst game ever, it's just the worst in the series. Twisted Metal 4 is my second favorite. Small Bro is my personal least favorite, but I see why people like it. It does have a good idea, creative levels, and honestly, I like Mime, Piecemeal, and Trapper. Those are some really cool characters, and apparently the guy who made those games is actually streaming the games now. I think it was Goodrich Games. Shout out to Goodrich Games. He's the guy who, I think he was the art director or whatever of Small Bro. He was like the main guy, and he's been replaying it, giving some, insight about what went down when he was making the games, and, very interesting stuff. I recommend you check him out, along with Drew Desidue and Vicarious Nick and Kongdu. All these new, pretty much what I consider the new age 72 Winnebagos of YouTubers and Twisted Metal. I think me, Vicarious Nick, Kongdu, and some other people, that we're all known for making something. Kongdu is mainly known for playing the games and raging. Drew Desidue and Vicarious Nick pretty much talk about the games and do tier lists. And then there's me who does these Twisted Metal fan-made cutscenes, which is essentially just a web series I'm making right now. But anyway, back to a Twisted Metal series, the Twisted Metal TV show. It premiered July 26th on Peacock. We got a subscription to Peacock just for the show, but my dad apparently found stuff on there he likes too, so good in the end. But that night of July 26th, when the show came out, I watched the first 5 episodes because I was like, I was getting tired. I think I had a long day doing stuff. I think I was just like cleaning the rooms, and I didn't think. And Dad said, yeah, the show came out whenever you're ready to watch it. I'm like, alright, I'll watch it this evening. The first night I watched 5 episodes, and then the other night I watched the other 5. This video is going to contain some major spoilers about the Twisted Metal TV show, because I'm not sure how many people have seen it, but I've seen it. It's only 10 episodes. It takes roughly about 5 hours to finish because it's like 10 episodes and there's like 30 minutes per episode. So it did take a while to finish, but man, it was. If the show would have been boring, I would have not watched it. But I'm happy to say they did. They didn't blow it. They didn't blow it. Guys, everyone, ladies and gents, trans women, trans men, non-binary, whatever you want to call yourselves, I don't care. Just don't force it on me. The Twisted Metal TV show was a lot better than I thought. I was expecting it to be, when I saw the trailers, I was skeptical to say the least, especially with the second trailer featuring John Doe and Sweet Tooth. You all know what I'm talking about. It's no surprise. The second trailer was probably the worst scene from the entire show. So it baffles me that that's the clip they decided to show to promote the TV show. They chose a clip of Sweet Tooth and John Doe fighting at a casino, and then Sweet Tooth starts singing the thong song by Cisco. And it doesn't help that on TikTok they're promoting the show with a guy dressed like Sweet Tooth and singing the thong song with Cisco live on stage. That was... Why do they do that? I think I know why. It's something that gets your eye, like, it may be awkward and weird, but you'll remember it because of that. And that's probably gonna help the show a little bit, because when you watch the show, it's actually really good. So, like I said, spoilers are coming. If you don't want to be spoiled, skip till towards the end where I'm just talking about, how Season 2 will probably play out if they make it. If they greenlight it, at least. Anyway, the Twisted Metal TV show, like I said, 10 episodes long. Not too long. I mean, it takes a little bit to finish, but for 10 episodes long, they did a good job with just, capturing, what Twisted Metal live action would be like. The main character is John Doe, who is played by Anthony Mackie, who is known for his roles in the Marvel movies. I forgot who he played, but I think I do remember him. I think he plays John Doe in the TV show, the amnesiac who drove roadkill in Twisted Metal Black. Now, I was a little bit skeptical on having John Doe as the main character too, because I'm like, if they want, I can understand roadkill, yeah, the driver of roadkill being the main character, but why John Doe? Why not Marcus Kane? There's a reason they didn't do Marcus Kane, I guess, but I still think it would have been cooler. But John Doe, Anthony Mackie brings a lot of light to this apocalyptic world. Basically, the plot of Twisted Metal TV show is in like a fictional version of our universe where Y2K did happen, but it happened like 2 years late. Pretty much Y2K, the electronics shut down, the satellites fell out the sky, the world went into chaos, and pretty much everyone went crazy. And yeah, and then we have John Doe, who's the amnesiac, who doesn't remember anything before the apocalypse. And like, he's just like, for being an amnesiac, he's pretty charismatic. He's pretty funny at times. There's some times where I'm like, can he shut the fuck up, please? Cause like, he'll say some jokes that are like, can you shut up, please? He just keeps it up, but some of his jokes are okay, but others are just like, I didn't feel that one. He was pretty hit or miss. But he was an interesting character that chooses the main protagonist, I think that does kind of help, retain some of the mystery of the show. Like, yeah, we only know as much as he does. He doesn't remember much before he woke up. He's been getting shot at ever since he woke up. He's been, being a delivery boy. He's what they call a milkman, which is pretty much a guy who goes on, trips to retrieve goods for the big hierarchy people that are in charge. And pretty much the plot of the first season is that Raven, who's a woman with like some power, she's actually from Twisted Metal Black as well, but they remade her into, she's pretty much a woman that offers John life in the real city. Like, in this world, the divided states of America is pretty much a post-apocalyptic world where only the big cities like New York, San Francisco, Chicago, they're all walled in, while the back roads and the countryside are all about people killing each other. And it's honestly an interesting idea. It was a really cool way to interpret the Twisted Metal universe as, hey, The big cities are off limits, at least for right now. I'm pretty sure in Season 2 they'll actually fight in the cities, like they do in the games. But they call it New San Francisco, New Chicago. Just the big cities have civilization while the back roads. Like, if we were living in the Twisted Metal universe, in like real life, where I'm living right now would probably be considered the place where the people fight. Because I'm in South Carolina. There's a lot of hillbilly back roads back here. I know that. So if that were real, I would be like in the war zone. But anyway, the plot of the show is just about a milkman. You know, he's trying to go to Chicago and get a package from a mysterious person to bring back the Raven so he can become a citizen in New San Francisco. On the way, of course, he does meet a bunch of crazy people. So in episode 1, we actually see the second main character, who's a new character named Quiet. Her and her brother are basically seen driving a hearse, which they call a Reaper in the show. It's supposed to be Shadow, but the Reaper was a motorcycle in Twisted Metal 2012, so I guess they reworked Shadow to be Reaper, which I don't think that really works. I think they should have just called, like, maybe it should be an alternate hearse, like it's a black hearse and not purple-pink. That could be Reaper, but anyway, back to the story. Quiet and her brother Loud, they're a couple of Hispanics that pretty much are on the run from the police. And the main antagonist for this season is Agent Stone, who is another character from Twisted Metal 1 and Twisted Metal Black. This one's kind of like a more based on Twisted Metal Black, but with the officer part of the Twisted Metal 1. And anyway, Agent Stone is probably one of the most entertaining characters and is a really cool villain. And it makes it even better that he's played by Thomas Hayden Church, who's better known as the Sandman from Spider-Man 3. Thomas Hayden Church went from the scared and just trying to, you know, save his daughter Sandman to the corrupt police officer that killed a kid while zapping one day and pretty much became the guy who's trying to bring law and order back to the post-apocalyptic wasteland, but is doing such a horrible job of it. Agent Stone. They did a good job with Agent Stone. You know, Thomas Hayden Church is a very talented actor, and I am so glad he fits the role. For some reason, I don't know, I never could have seen this, but yeah, Thomas Hayden Church does an amazing job as Agent Stone. He comes off as a dick, and he's also kind of like trying to be nice and shit, but really he's trying to be a dick too. Like, he's the reason Quiet even had a story, because the first episode's pretty fucked up. While after they got, you know, after they blew up the hearse and pretty much had Quiet and her brother Loud at gunpoint, Agent Stone pretty much gave him a decision. He put a gun down and said, hey, either one of you kills themselves and gets out, or both of you just die right here. So what I did not expect was for Quiet's brother Loud to pull the gun on himself and shoot himself. And Quiet's just like traumatized, like, yeah, I'd be traumatized too if I saw my sibling, we were being held at gunpoint by a bunch of corrupt police officers, and one of them said, hey, here's the gun, which one are you going to shoot each other, or shoot yourself? Loud shoots himself, and it's just bloody, and she's like, it's fucked up. And they spare her, but they put like a little mark on her, and so they know that she's, hey, we're going to go after this you later, but right now, better take care of your dead brother. Like, it was fucked up. And at the end of episode 1, pretty much it shows Quiet getting into John Doe's car and, you know, holding him at gunpoint. And for the first couple of episodes, she's actually pretty quiet. It's true to her name. Episode 2, though, is where we meet Sweet Tooth. At the end of episode 1, there's a cliffhanger with Quiet and John Doe in the desert. They're being pursued by an ice cream truck. Now, one of the things that John Doe said was pretty funny, I'll admit. He said, okay, this ain't no game, and that ain't no birthday clown, or something like that. I'm like, you know what? Him saying, that ain't no birthday clown, because he knew that clown was not friendly. It was Sweet Tooth. Episode 2 is where the teaser comes from. The one where they're in the casino and singing the thong song. Yeah, that was a kind of an awkward scene, but when you watch the whole episode, it's actually pretty good. So the episode starts, and the way they introduced Sweet Tooth is they had him come through the freaking dark doorway or whatever of the casino he was actually staying in, and he's like, looking for him, he's like, Marco! And John Doe was like, He was trying to do the Marco Polo thing, and the music's actually pretty good too in the scene. It kind of fits the scary clown aesthetic to Sweet Tooth. I actually listened to that song. It's something called Marco Polo. But anyway, it starts out, with them in the fight at casinos. Quiet actually gets away quietly. Pun intended. But anyway, pretty much she gets out. John Doe just left the fight with Sweet Tooth. That's where the scene comes in with the thong song. After the thong song, he brings John Doe and Quiet to to watch his show, right? Come to my show. I thought you were coming to see my show. Pretty much Sweet Tooth shows that he was actually living in the casino, and it's actually a pretty neat little set. Some people said the sets look cheap in the teasers. I think they look pretty good. Sweet Tooth's costume looks pretty cool. People kept saying, "Where's the flaming head?" We'll get to that. Anyway, pretty much the episode's about Sweet Tooth. This is the Sweet Tooth episode. They go to the casino, they stay for his little show, and then they go on their merry way. Pretty much Sweet Tooth's show was awful. Like, he was dressed up in, by the way, it's funny, he put on the suit he had in Twisted Metal 3. You see that little bow tie, that little, weird little clown getup he has on that picture I printed for my RC room? Which, yes, this is an RC track I created, I crafted it, I got all these little Easter eggs and cars and even that. Anyway, that little suit he was wearing in the show was actually the one from Twisted Metal 3. I kind of find it symbolic, really, that they made him actually act kind of stupid and goofy while he's also wearing the suit from Twisted Metal 3, which is considerably the worst game in the whole series because it was stupid and goofy. But anyway, Sweet Tooth just goes on stage. He pretty much bores the shit out of John and Quiet. He was pretty much just reenacting this little intercom thing you heard about promoting Vegas. It was just horrible, and at the end he asked, "Hey, what do you think? Do you think it goes good?" John didn't want to say anything. Quiet, when she finally speaks, he's like, "It was shit. It was just boring. You need to do better." And we think Sweet Tooth is gonna kill her. No, he's like, "You know what? You do it right. I need to get out there in the world." And that's when we actually get to see Sweet Tooth start to shine. After episode 2, people thought, oh, that's the only episode he's in, because remember, IMDb page, the page said Samoa Joe and Will Arnett are only in one episode, which was very concerning. It was a lie. Sweet Tooth is in at least half the episodes. He's got his own plot on the side. It's actually really fucking funny. Anyway, after they leave the casino, episode 3, I want to say was the one where they actually go to Agent Stone's place. And they meet with him, they go into an interrogation room, they have to go to a DMV, and it's a weird episode, but it's actually what starts up the whole, conflict between Quiet and Agent Stone, how she wants to actually get revenge on him. And at the end of the episode, I will say this later, but basically at the end of episode 3 is where they actually kind of, butcher the character. I kind of like this character, but in the TV show, I hated him. I'll mention it later, but pretty much, you all know what I'm talking about. I'll make a full rant about it, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, at the end of the episode, after a disturbing scene with one of the officers, episode 4, I want to say, was the episode about... Honestly, there's so many good episodes, but I think episode 4 was with them meeting Granny Dread, yeah. Episode 4 was about the big rigs. They get, put on a big rig with characters that we already know. Granny Dread was the owner, and Miranda Watts was her little assistant. And then they're supposed to go see Amber to get an herb for the granny, because Granny Dread was sick. At the end of the episode, she actually dies. Kind of sad. She was only in one episode, but the little time we saw of her, bro, she was a lot more memorable than she was in Twisted Metal 3. So that's another thing I like about this show. They gave characters like Amber Rose, the driver of Flower Power, and Granny Dread. They gave a lot of characters from the lackluster entries, for the stories at least. The gameplay was good in some of them. They gave some of the lackluster characters, good character. They actually made them better. What I'm doing with my channel. You've all seen what I've done to Club Kid, Firestarter, and Goggle Eyes, and there's only more coming from here on out. I think in October I'll do them all, though. October will be the Twisted Metal 2/4 month. But anyway, they gave some characters purpose, and I am such a fan of what they've done to some of the characters. Episode 4 is about the big rigs. Episode 5, I believe that was the episode where they pick up the package. Yeah, episode 5 was actually pretty good, in my opinion. Where it starts out showing Sweet Tooth's origin story. This is where we really get to see Sweet Tooth. And basically, Sweet Tooth's origin story was actually, I think, I'm not going to get into it right now, but basically, you know how he has a messed up story, right? He's a killer clown whose mind snaps. In the game, he was just trying to, like, find his daughter because he couldn't kill her. That was fine and all in Twisted Metal 2012, but in the TV show, his first kill was a lot more fucked up, if you think about it. So, when I was watching the beginning of episode 5, which was the episode I actually started on, I think, the second night to finish the series, it was one hell of a way to start the freaking thing out. Episode 5 starts out with Sweet Tooth as a kid. He's on a set, you know. He's like, I want to do this, Mom. Everyone loves that dog better than me. I mean, he's a child actor. He's trying to, like, be in a show because his parents made him so they can get money or some shit. And, like, he was jealous that the audience loved the dog more than him. Billy. Part of me was to believe that Billy's supposed to reference Billy Ray Stillwell from Black, but that just might be me. Anyway, Billy was a dog that young Marcus Needles Kane, killed. He killed the dog on set. That was fucked up. Did not even expect that shit. Like, I watch a Twisted Metal TV show. See, look, I can get behind Sweet Tooth killing other people. I can get behind him even killing bugs, like Goggle Eyes would at least. But Sweet Tooth's first kill of being a fucking dog on a TV show. That was a little bit overboard, if you ask me. Like, I could get behind him killing his family, okay? I know that's kind of fucked up the thing. But Sweet Tooth is no stranger to killing people. But when they depicted him being violent towards animals, I'm like, okay then. But that's how episode 5 starts, and it's probably the most insane one, I think. Because then later we see Sweet Tooth break into the compound where Agent Stone was, before he went back to his, he went back to another place. He's always around the country because he's a cop. Basically, Sweet Tooth fucking destroys the place, and he also takes Stu in as a little accomplice. And I think later in the episode, I think it's the same episode, they go to Blackfield Asylum. So Sweet Tooth can show Stu, hey, these are my parents. Mom and Wesley, his stepdad. Pretty much after the world ended, Sweet Tooth tracked his parents down. He locked them up in the asylum to die. Like, let them to rot like they did with him. It was a really, really good episode. Episode 5 was pretty cool. Like, Sweet Tooth, getting development and, just exploring him. We never have seen this before. It was cool. And, of course, John Doe and Quiet, at the beginning of that episode, they meet Calypso. Calypso, as in his voice. We don't actually see him. We never see him yet. But we know Calypso is real. Believe in Calypso, because Calypso... Hold up. Calypso is real, and yes, he is. He is in the show. We don't actually see his face, but we hear his voice. He's actually the one that Raven sent John... Like, John was supposed to pick up a package in Chicago, or New Chicago. And Calypso, out of all people, Calypso was the one who had the package for Raven. But I think later in the episode, I think the episode was called Nut House. I think that was episode 5. That was the best episode. Nut House and Evelyn were my favorite episodes. But basically, they go pick up the package from Calypso, and now they're on the way back to San Francisco to see Raven. And so John can live a normal life in the city. Pretty much, they go to a bar in that episode, and that bar is full of so many freaking cameos and characters. Pizza Boy, Drag Queen, Catfish, Mr. Slam, who was actually a pretty cool guy in that show. I'll admit Mr. Slam was cool. And a surprise appearance by none other than Pit Viper. Now, we've seen the trailers, right? We knew Mr. Slam was supposed to be in the bar. He was supposed to be the bar owner. He actually had a big penis. And he would squash watermelons with them. I'm like, what the fuck? When I think of Mr. Slam, I think of the construction worker with the front loader, not him slamming his dick on the freaking table and breaking it. He's got like a freaking dick of like rubber and iron or some shit. Like, It's insane, but I thought Mr. Slame was pretty cool. He was the only guy that didn't get into the bar fight. He was just behind the counter watching the whole thing. Slame was pretty cool. Bloody Mary also makes an appearance as Jon Snow's psycho ex-girlfriend, who's also like a bisexual because she was like smooching women and shit. And I think that I like what they did with Bloody Mary. I didn't like her in Twisted Metal Black that much, but in Twisted Metal TV show, I think she was a cooler character as she works better as a psycho ex-girlfriend than just some crazy woman that says, I'm looking for a husband, but I can't find my husband. I'm like, Mary, do you know how many men these days have no love? Okay, like, she needs to get over it, man. And it looks like in the TV show she did, because now she's just like a slut or some shit, smooshing women, and she got like a knife. She wears an awesome dress that looks better than the bloody dress Bloody Mary had. It kind of looks like a wedding dress and a leather dress at the same time. It's really cool. Drag Queen was probably the best character that reworked. Twisted Metal 4 is notorious for having some of the worst characters in the entire series. I am not kidding. Drag Queen was the worst. But in the TV show, they made Drag Queen work as like a performer in the bar. She was like... They did Justice the Drag Queen and Pizza Boy, who didn't look too much different. See, Drag Queen, they changed the appearance dramatically, and I love the new design, by the way. I love the fishnet idea. I love the pink dress. That's better than the tutu from Twisted Metal 4. Just the overall appearance of Drag Queen in this version was actually good, and I actually thought Drag Queen was pretty badass. Pizza Boy, on the other hand, looked very, like, exactly like it did in the game. But I never thought Pizza Boy in live action would actually really look really cool, because I thought Pizza Boy looked awesome in live action. And he gets his face bashed in the episode. I'm pretty sure 72 Winnebago would have liked that. Cause I remember a long time ago he said, oh, if he were to make Twisted Metal bloopers, he'd have Pizza Boy get beaten up for no reason other than it's funny. Guess what? 72 Winnebago, your wish is granted. Boom, boom, just fucking, I think John like beat the fuck out of Pizza Boy. His fucking face got bashed in. And just that episode was awesome, but the Pit Viper appearance really got me, because Pit Viper... You all know I love Pit Viper. I have like the biggest like obsession with this character. Her and Mr. Ash from the first game. Pit Viper was just that, you know, that mixed race looking woman with the black, you know, hair. She had like headphones and she had like a black tank top. The show, they featured her. She was in the bar. She was undercover. And after the bar fight, we noticed that she was not in the fight. The bar fight scene, and I'm like, where was she at? After it was over, we see her texting on a phone or something. She was texting Agent Estella and saying, hey, they were at the Nut House, they're going here. I'm like, Pit Viper! Yeah, Pit Viper was in the show, and she was silent, but she played a big role. And she was not killed, so there's always the door is always open for my sweet Angela Fortin or Amanda X Pit Viper. She's a cool character, and I think I like her design more than Drag Queen's. She looks very similar to her appearance in Twisted Metal 1's Lost Endings. They just took it up a notch. They gave her a snake necklace, some mixed eyeshadow. She looked awesome. Like, this new Pit Viper, I might actually dress up as her for Halloween. And, so pretty much episode 5 with Nut House was the best, in my opinion. Episode 6, though, is the worst. Episode 6, which was called, I think, Drive-Thru, it was slow. It was boring. Like, how do we go from Nut House to Drive-Thru? Like, yeah, it was pretty much the episode where, a storm rolls in. Jon Snow is scared of the storm and having his car out in the rain or some shit. Pretty much him and Quiet are pretty much locked up into an old restaurant that actually Quiet used to be in. Quiet used to work for them, and it shows her PTSD attacks, and that's fine and dandy, but the thing that gets me is just it's so freaking slow. There's no freaking climax to the episode. They're in one spot for the entire episode, which is supposed to apparently mean, yeah, this is the low budget episode, and I understand that. But did they really have to have sex in the fucking ball pit? That is one of the worst things in the entire show. Jon Snow and Quiet getting butt naked and fucking in a ball pit. And you see Quiet's feet up in the air. I'm like, I'm gonna guess some fucking creepy ass foot creeper is gonna fucking screenshot that shit, cause you can't do scenes like that these days without having that shit happen. There's fucking creeps on the internet, and this show is definitely gonna have some creeps. Cause they're outsiders, cause there's a lot of new fans now, and you don't know who's who. But pretty much episode 6 was my least favorite. I didn't like it much. I did like the flashback sequences showing her and Loud. You know, finally getting the, finally just showing like, hey, this is actually where she started out at. She just, her and her brother escaped, and that's why they were in the hearse. And it was pretty interesting to see how they tied that together. It was interesting, but other than that, not the biggest fan of it. And I feel like Quiet, at this point, she was becoming more Loud than Quiet. I'm like, I preferred it when she would just like have a bandana on her mouth and she just wouldn't speak, and she's like, her name is Quiet. Her brother was Loud. She's quiet. But after a while, she became loud. I'm like, I understand her brother dies and she wants to kind of like be like her brother, I guess. But come on, I don't know. She came off as a bitch sometimes. But episode 7 though made up for it big time. Episode 6 was slow, so I knew they had to increase the speed of episode 7. Episode 7 is my second favorite. It's called Evelyn. It pretty much shows how John got his car and how he woke up. He woke up pretty much behind a car. He crashed a car as like a kid. He didn't remember where he was. That's why he got amnesia. His head hit the steering wheel. Pretty much he gets out that car and a woman like steals it and treats him like shit. He goes to like a scrapyard. I think he goes to the Zorko Brothers Scrap and Salvage. I think that's where he went. Which is a level in Twisted Metal Black. That's the first level in Twisted Metal Black. The Zorko Brothers Scrap and Salvage, which is a really weird name level, but it's a good level. He finds Evelyn, who was just like sitting there under some, stuff, and he eventually gets her to work, and ever since he escaped some bandits in the junkyard, pretty much that's how he got Evelyn. For 20-something years, he'd just been driving that car, doesn't remember anything else but the car. He lived in that car, he loved that car, and then episode 7 has the car actually get stolen by the Holy Men, who were mentioned in episode 4 but not seen. I'm like, are they going to introduce them or not? Episode 7 does. The Holy Men were my favorite faction / gang in the entire show. The Holy Men were pretty much, I thought they were going to be like some evangelist trying to say, oh no, Calypso isn't real, but God is. Go back to worshiping God. He's still here. That's what I thought. You hear the word Holy Men, you think of, Bible thumpers, but I was wrong, man. I was wrong about that entire setup, man. The Holy Men are actually a group of Satanists. They got like these get masks on. They got a mistress with a whip. They're like S&M guys. They're fucking hardcore. They're kind of like the sexual deviants from Manhunt 2 mixed with like the Angels of Death from GTA 4. They're like a biker gang mixed with satanic shit, S&M. And they're led by a guy, the Preacher. They're led by a new version of the Preacher. I absolutely love the new Preacher, man. So in Twisted Metal Black, the Preacher was a guy who was pretty much a schizophrenic old man who pretty much went to Blackfield Asylum because he killed some people in a church and drowned a baby, and he was schizophrenic. He thought he was supposed to give that baby an exorcism. All they asked was for a baptism, but he misheard him as exorcism, and he tried to like drown the baby, and he did drown the baby, but don't see it. But anyway, he kills people in the church, and he regrets everything he did. Well, the new Preacher, much like Agent Stone, is like a reverse. He's a guy who did kill some people in a church, but instead of like regretting it, oh, the Lord, better save my Lord Jesus. No, this one would actually say it sarcastically, then snore some cocaine off a mirror and start jumping around and beating the shit out of people. The new Preacher is kind of like the old Preacher, but recontextualized. It's like the Preacher mixed with Ozzy Osbourne. He was fucking amazing. He was jumping around, beating the fuck out of John. He even references the baby thing. That was one thing that caught me off guard. And John was like, what are you, possessed? He's like, you know, I was possessed once by a little demon baby. He made me kill everyone in the fucking church. I'm like, that was a reference. Like, the references are awesome. And the new preacher, I forgot the name of the actor who played him, but whoever he was, I think he is famous, but man, he did a good job. He just played a freaking... He's like the preacher smoking weed and just like liking rock music and snorting coke. This new preacher, honestly, this is one of my favorite characters, and I like this version better than the one in the Twisted Metal Black. Yep. I'd much rather watch the preacher jumping around acting goofy while hyped up on cocaine than play as Brimstone in Twisted Metal Black, because honestly, Brimstone isn't that fun to play. I like the preacher, it's just like, I don't know, he's just not fun to me. He's not fun to be, you know, playing as. But episode 7 ends with a really sad part with, you know, Evelyn actually blows up. While the preacher and John Doe were fighting on the hood of his car, some gasoline spills and fire hits it and boom! And presumably Preacher's dead. But we'll get to that. I think Preacher's alive and John survives. So obviously the Preacher could be alive too. And at the end it shows him carrying his body into like a hearse or some shit. Or anyway, after Evelyn blows up, John is destroyed, man. He's just like on his own, you know, he's just upset. That car was his baby, you know. Got him out of so many bad situations, and losing was hard. But in episode 8, I think episode 8 or 9 was called Roadkill. And he gets a new car and he calls it Roadkill, which is the car from Twisted Metal Black. And pretty much there's a lot to unpack with the show, man. There's a lot of stuff they did with it right, and the final episode was satisfying. It's pretty much this big battle between, you know, all the characters we see that are on the road. Like Sweet Tooth comes back, Mike and Stu are in the back with him. Sweet Tooth tells Stu to like light his head up. He puts like, pretty much he does what I do with my tea tree soap. He like put some gasoline in his hands though. He went, put it on his, he's like, alright Stu, when I say so, light her up. And then when the battle is about to start, Sweet Tooth does something so badass, he tells Stu to light his head. Boom, we got the fiery head Sweet Tooth. So that's where it was. Sweet Tooth has his head on fire. During the final battle, he's just cackling, having a fucking blast. He's shooting everyone with missiles coming out of his ice cream truck. The clown head just shooting all these missiles. Twister is like in there, you know, trying to help. The Juggernaut's driven by Amber and a new character named Tinker. You know, they're like in a truck, and they pretty much go after Agent Stone. He's like the final boss, pretty much. Him and his, you know, caught people. And at the end, Agent Stone's death, after Quiet, pretty much, she was about to shoot him and kill him, because she puts an axe into his face. He just stays sitting there on the road, helpless after his car explodes. She's like, it was an awesome way to kill him. She pretty much does what he did with his brother. She puts the gun down, it's like, you know what? You have a choice. And she walks away like, you know, like, you can kill yourself or you can just live with this shit. And then Agent Stone was probably about to shoot them from a distance, but then he looks down. He sees the teddy bear that belonged to the girl he killed, and he's like... And then off screen we hear, boom! So it implies he may have shot himself, or maybe he just shot into the air and pretended he died, like he faked his death. I don't know. But the end of the show just has Raven get her package, and it was fucking ice cream. I'm like, okay, so you sent John Doe across the country to come back and give you some ice cream? Bro, I'm pretty sure Sweet Tooth would have hooked her up. Okay, there was no need for that. Even Joe Biden wouldn't be that crazy, though. I don't know. He probably sends... I don't know. Anyway, so pretty much the show ends on a cliffhanger. Raven says Calypso is, like, having a contest, and John has to win or some shit if he wants to know who he really is, what his past is like. Pretty much is setting up a sequel, a season 2, where there's actually a tournament worth more cars. And Calypso has like these pictures of people he wants in the next contest, including Bloody Mary, who I thought was dead, Preacher, who I thought was dead. So if they're coming back, he can bring back characters. Of course he can. He's done that before in the games. So pretty much no character's actually dead. So, but they're also teasing like Mr. Grimm, who was absent, and Axel, who was also absent. But they had a picture showing like, hey, we're going to put Axel and Mr. Grimm in Season 2 if we get greenlit. And it's... Overall, the TV show I watched was fantastic. I loved a lot of it, but there are a few minor gripes I will make as a fan. because I have praised it a lot in this video. My camera's running out of battery, but pretty much what I want to do with what I want to gripe about was my first gripe is Agent Shepard. Yeah, remember that cop character I mentioned that like was killed in episode 3? You know, like he was in the first 3 episodes. Agent Shepard, the greasy-haired looking guy. At first, I had no idea that was supposed to be Agent Shepard. He didn't look like Agent Shepard to me. He just looked like some regular bad guy working with Stone. But no, they call him Agent Shepard in episode 3. Like, oh, that's his name? How was I supposed to know? He didn't look like Agent Shepard. So, as you know, Agent Shepard was a badass FBI agent in Twisted Metal Head-On. His ending was remarkable. 2 minutes of awesomeness. Where the twist was, there was no twist. And his voice acting was awesome. And Agent Shepard was a cool character in Head-On. I was kind of hoping we'd see more of him. We did in the TV show, but they pretty much butchered that character. Agent Shepard went from the badass FBI agent trying to take down Calypso, and actually succeeds, to just some random henchman that works for Agent Stone. He's like just an asshole, and he's also a pervert. The worst thing they did with this version of Agent Shepard, and he honestly, if they would have just called him anything else, I would like, okay, because I would have never made the comparison to Agent Shepard, but this is not Agent Shepard, man. The fact that this character's named Agent Shepard baffles me. The way they killed him was him having his pants down, jacking off to, something that's illegal here in the real world in the United States. But because he's a cop, because it's, you know, post-apocalypse, of course they'd have to have him die jacking off the lolicon and have Quiet beat his head up. She pretty much takes, like, his flashlight and beats him up to death. Like, his blood, he had his pants down and everything. I'm like, see, I could even imagine the original Agent Shepard jacking off the lolicon. Like, I mean, like, come on, man. They could have named him anything else and I wouldn't have cared. Like, I mean, obviously not Carl or Jamie. They could have called him Buzz. You know what? Calling him Buzz, but having Carl and Jamie come in later, like, hey, they could have called this guy Buzz and I'd be fine. But no, he has the name Agent Shepard. But he's nothing like the Agent Shepard I know and love, because I love Agent Shepard. As much as I don't talk enough about Agent Crimson Fury's other drivers, I love Agent Shepard more than Stone, because Stone was better for SWAT vehicles. And anyway, this Agent Shepard, I fucking hated that guy. He was just like, and he just fought, like, bro, and you see in his hand is a fucking Mongo with, like, a naked schoolgirl. I'm like, Lolicon? Are you kidding me? That ain't Agent Shepard. Fuck that. That's one thing I hate about the show. They fucking butchered a character that could have been awesome. They could have made him, like, an undercover cop that takes down Stone. Anyway, that's the first gripe. I mentioned this earlier, but I'll say it again. They may have gone just a little bit overboard with Sweet Tooth's first kill. Like I said, Sweet Tooth was like a kid who was on a TV show. The parents made him become like a child actor. He didn't like it. And the dog was always taking his spotlight. And so he murders a dog live on TV. He takes like one of the actors, like, yeah, there's an old lady holding like a pair of like these little sewing things. So he takes those out of her hands and just boom, boom. He fucking kills a dog on TV. And like, part of me was kind of laughing, but part of me was also feeling like kind of uncomfortable just because, you know, he's killing a dog. We don't see the dog get killed, but we hear the dog screaming and he's like, lying, like, I'm like, that's a way to start an episode, but it's just, I feel like it's just a little bit overboard. I can get behind the kids, I mean, not the kids, the family, I mean, the family getting killed was one thing, but the dog, I don't know. Just, I love animals. I mean, you all know I have cats, and I have a dog too. Sweet Tooth's killing a dog, which is a little bit too much. Like, I feel like, I mean, I love what they did with Sweet Tooth. Don't get me wrong. He had the best jokes in the entire show. Best joke was, welcome to the Q&A, where I asked the Q where I kick your A. That was the best joke ever in episode 2. But his origin story, I'm like, they could have just stuck with him, like, maybe have, like, him and his parents get into a fight, and then kill them, but no, he kills a dog on a TV show, like the Joker did with Murray from Joker. But I feel like they went overboard with that, but it's just a minor gripe, and you know what, it's fine for what it is. I already mentioned episode 6, you know, just, It was too slow. Nothing but having sex in a ball pit, fighting, having sex in a ball pit. And there might be some pervs looking at that shit now. I'm like, I should have opened my mouth, but there are fucking perverts out there, okay? Not just Agent Shepard, but perverts in real life that are just like Agent Shepard. The TV show one, not the head-on one. Anyway, then Like a Music by Rob Zombie. This show had a decent soundtrack. It was a lot of 1999 songs, like Thong Song, Steal My Sunshine by Lan. There was, other songs I heard, I knew about. There was a lot of good music in the show. But one thing I feel like it was a missed opportunity, was featuring Rob Zombie. This is something I want from the get-go, is just for them to feature a song by Rob Zombie. At least Dragula. Like, Dragula would have been fine. Like, bro, Dragula is like the song that people know because of Twisted Metal and the radio play. And, you know, Twisted Metal just helped. And look what I have right there. That is a model of the car. That's what Rob Zombie drove in Twisted Metal 4, which is based on a real car from the Monsters called the Dragula. But the fact that there were literally no Rob Zombie songs in the entire show, like, bro, that was a missed opportunity. But if season 2 comes out, maybe they'll get, you know, a license with Rob Zombie. Maybe they don't have the license or the money for it, you know? So they had to make compromises and stick with Thong Song by Cisco, Still My Sunshine by Lynn, just all the songs they featured in that show that they could have just featured Rob Zombie, because I feel like Rob Zombie works the best, but maybe season 2 will bring us Rob Zombie. Maybe even a cameo, shit, he was a character in Twisted Metal 4, but... And last thing I want to complain about, I already said this, but Quiet just became a little bit too talkative after like the third or fourth episode or whatever. I understand she was a bit, you know, traumatized and stuff, but like, I don't know, she came off as a bitch sometimes. I mean, John's just trying to get his shit together, and Quiet just shows up in the middle of the desert and kind of forces herself along with him, and the deal had nothing to do with her, you know, it's just, but at the end, it was kind of heartwarming seeing John, like, you know, I need to go back out and just be with Quiet, man. She's hurt, you know, she needs someone, her brother's dead, and, you know, Raven was like, oh, you shouldn't care about her, she's not your friend, but, anyway, overall, the TV show was good. Despite my minor gripes about the Agent Shepard thing and, you know, the music thing and the jokes not landing sometimes, it was a fun experience. I have not watched a show that decent in so long. They've been releasing so much shit these days, you know, they've been releasing, you know, kids shows, talking about being non-binary. When kids don't need to learn about that shit, you know, they're making shows about, like, you know, like, just woke BLM trash, and some people were worried that Twisted Metal, the TV show, was gonna be woke. It wasn't. It was the opposite, man. They even featured drag queen beating the shit out of people in the bar, like... I'm like, bro, people thought, oh, it was gonna be a woke character. It's gonna be talking about... No, drag queen barely said anything, but drag queen was pretty cool on the show. But overall, the show was really good. I loved it. It's definitely inspiring, to say the least, because, as you know, like I said before, I'll say it again, on my second channel I have a lot of projects going on regarding Twisted Metal, and my art I'm getting practice with shading the art too because of this, and playing with the 11 Labs AI voice thing. It's just a fun thing to do whenever I'm feeling creative. Right now I'm on break, though, obviously, because I just finished the ending for 12-Pack, and the week before I actually, I finished this full story of Manslaughter, like I mentioned in that one video. I forgot to say that. But last video I had on this channel was of me talking about Manslaughter and how I'm going to finish that. I did that like about a few weeks ago. And then I finished the 12-Pack story with Severed Sam, and it was probably better than I wanted to make it, but after that, I kind of like got burnt out for a little bit, so for the next couple of weeks, I'm just going to be planning my last 3 for my season 1, because much like the TV show, this Twisted Metal Black Redux motion comic series is technically a show of its own, you know? It's just me showing what I have in mind for some of the characters. Some are older ideas, and some are actually newer, because, you know, I'm older now, I can think about more stories, and make it feel more real, because people love my Twisted Metal Black ones the most. The Twisted Metal Black stories are actually some of the best ones I've made, and August and September will basically just be about Twisted Metal Black. And then, but October, when that rolls around, I'll have an announcement ready. But pretty much, October I plan on doing like a special straight up whole month of Twisted Metal 2 mixed with Twisted Metal 4, because I want to actually have a new twist. With the Twisted Metal 2 endings I've been doing, I've only done 3 so far. I want to do more. I want to do Orbital. I want to do Mr. Zombie, Pizza Boy. I want to do Flower Power. I've only done Firestarter, Club Kid, and Goggle Eyes so far. Next one I plan on doing is Drag Queen and or Trash Man. But anyway, the TV show was good. I'm working on these motion comics, and I'm not too busy with them right now. I'm thinking maybe like 2 weeks from now I'll actually start on the Warhawk story, because I have made a poll on my second channel saying, hey, which character you want me to do next? And 57% voted for Warhawk, like 30 for Minion, and like 19 for Thumper. So Warhawk's next, then Minion, and then Thumper, which I'm slowly but surely preparing the art for. If you go to my Instagram, JustinDark98, you go to my stories, you'll probably see teasers for them every so often. You just gotta check my stories for that. Anyway, this is a long-ass video. I don't have much else to say, everyone. The show was good. It had a little bit of flaws, but it was a lot better than I expected. It was good. It was compelling. It was action-packed. I kind of wish there was just a little bit more car combat, but what can you do when you have a limited budget? But when the car combat scenes that were there were really freaking cool. The Preacher was insane. The Pit Viper appearance caught me off guard. Mr. Slam, although his talent was a little bit weird, I thought he was pretty cool just because he didn't join in the fight. He just stayed behind and just like watched, and I think he was like, eh. Like, yeah, I don't know, the show was really cool. I'm Justin Dark, I'm signing out. I gotta go, do some stuff. I'll upload this later probably, but anyways, be sure to subscribe to my second channel, because this channel is still kind of dead right now, but trust me, in a few weeks, you will see some more of my works, for the Twisted Metal Black fan-made cutscenes, and yeah. So be sure to subscribe to Twisted Art Productions. I'm signing out. Have a great Twisted day, and I'll see you all in the next video, whenever that may be, because I don't know when. Yeah. Take care. Have a great day.